library. He walked inside. A sign pointed to the basement. Library sale, it said. The library proper was on the ground floor, and he stamped the snow off his boots and went in. A forbidding woman with pursed crimson-colored lips asked him pointedly if she could help him.
I suppose I need a library card. And I want to know all about Thunderbirds.
The woman had him fill out a form, then she told him it would take a week until he could be issued with his card. Shadow wondered if they spent the week sending out inquiries to ensure that he was not wanted in any of the libraries across America for failure to return library books. He had known a man in prison who had been in prison for stealing libraries.
Oh, man.
The man told him why he was inside. $500,000 worth of...
How's everybody doing? Hope y'all doing all right.
His name was Gary McGuire. Mostly rare and antique.
Just now firing up the live stream.
They found a whole storage.
I'm going to give it a few minutes to see if some people hop in and want to watch live and join the chat room and all of that and give me an audio check to make sure I sound okay. And in the interim, I'm going to stuff my face with some food.
Gary flashed him a grin, lowered his voice, and said, "Just in the storage locker they found. They never found the garage in San Clemente with the really good stuff in it." Gary had died in prison when what the infirmary had told him was just a malingering, feeling lousy kind of day, and that would be a ruptured appendix. Now, here in the Lakeside Library, Shadow found himself thinking about a garage in San Clemente with box after box of rare, strange, and beautiful books in it rotting away. All of them
Okay, so it looks like some people are hopping in.
sex in the darkness.
If you're in here watching this, how's my audio? Do I sound okay? Not too loud, not too soft?
Beliefs and traditions was on a single shelf in one castle-like turret.
Just let me know in the chat,
Out the window.
please and thank you.
In several minutes, he had learned that thunderbirds were mythical, gigantic birds who lived on mountaintops, who brought the lightning and who flapped their wings to make the thunder. There were some tribes, he read, who believed that the thunderbirds had made the world. Another half hour's reading did not turn up anything more, and he could find no mention of eagle stones anywhere.
It also looks like there's some serious latency too.
The books back on the shelf when he became aware of somebody staring at him. Someone small and grave was peeking at him from around the heavy shelves. As he turned to look, the face
All right. Thank you, Angel.
boy then glanced around to see that
Appreciate you watching and I appreciate your help.
in his pocket was the little
I'm going to stop chewing into the microphone right now.
pocket, held it up in his right hand, making sure the boy could see it. He finger palmed it into his left hand, displayed
I'll put this food away for the moment.
his left hand to his mouth and coughed once, letting the coin tumble from his left hand into his right. The boy looked at him wide-eyed and scampered away, returning a few moments
And I'm going to turn down my audiobook.
later. Olson looked at Shadow suspiciously and said,
Hello, Mr. Hazel.
All right. More people are popping in. Thank y'all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. First off, hello. I am Aunt Pruitt. I am a freelance digital content creator. Do a lot of photography, do some videos, and I also do a whole lot of writing. When I'm not doing any just content creation, I do some IT stuff with SQL and databases. But this is my passion, and I enjoy doing it. Just you have no idea. But I also enjoy sharing my experiences and passing along the things that I've learned with the hopes of helping others that are trying to get into photography, help push them along the way and up in their skill sets and, just giving them some tips, tricks, and ideas. So with tonight's live stream, if you saw the description, I'm just winging it. I'm flat out winging it down to the point to where I just got up this afternoon, grabbed my camera, and I just went out and just started shooting with my camera. Just no plan, nothing. And the thing is, sometimes it's okay to do that. It's totally fine to do that. most of the time when I go out to shoot, I do have a plan. I do have a purpose. I'll walk out the door and I'm thinking, today I'm focusing on black and white photography, period. Whatever I shoot, I'm shooting it because I think it will look good in black and white, stuff like that. Or I'm strictly going out for landscape today, or I'm strictly going out for street photography, stuff like that. But that's just how I roll. And then every now and then I just get up and just drive and just take the camera with no plan whatsoever. And if something strikes my attention or what have you, I pull the camera out. And it's not always DSLR. Sometimes it's my phone too, because these phones have capable cameras as well. But anyway, that's the gist of tonight's live stream. I'm not going to hold you long tonight. I try to keep these things at about an hour. Probably won't go that long tonight because, quite honestly, I'm tired. I'm a little tired right now, and I'm hungry. But I'm not going to complain. But I feel like I owe you folks that have been subscribed to me and been following along. So I said I at least got to give you a little bit of some time tonight. So let's go ahead and fire up Lightroom and Photoshop if we have to, and let's just see what's in there. I need to take my card out, my SD card out, and import some stuff too from what I shot earlier today. Scott Wilhelm, welcome. See, yeah, you feel me. Scott says that sometimes you can end up with some great shots without a plan, for sure. Yeah, totally agree. Fist bump to you, brother. All right, so let's see what's going on with my Creative Cloud. Everything is popping up weird. There we go. All right, this is some of my previous imports, but I haven't processed everything that's in there. So let me show my screen. That might help, wouldn't it? There we go. This is the last thing that I did over on Instagram. This is some tea, just totally random. I shot this one morning while I was making my tea, and I posted this particular image here because it just got my attention. I shot it with my smartphone. I used the Pixel 2, and said, yeah, I like it. And then after further playing around, I ended up with this image, and I really like it. It's just a typical day in the life kind of thing, But, is Lightroom choking on me? There we go. I want to talk about these shots right here. Okay. This right here is just some light fixtures. This is another day where I just went out to shoot. This wasn't taken today. This was actually taken about a week ago. Yeah, it looks like it was on the 12th of May. But this was a day that Miss Pruitt and I went out for brunch or something, and I decided to just take my camera with me. And I do that a lot, if we're just going to run errands or something. Some days I'm thinking, grab your camera, just keep it with you. And I'm glad I did, because this is at one of the local restaurants. And as I'm walking out, these lights just got my attention for whatever reason. And I figured, why not? Let's just go ahead and shoot. So I shot them, and right now I'm looking at these little images, and there's not much that I feel I need to do to them. I like the way the color temperature is. The clarity on it is really good, and it looks like I actually used my phone to shoot these. Yeah, these were shot with my Pixel. It did a nice job. So the only thing that I may do is go in and try to remove some things like that I think are a little distracting. This little fire alarm switch is a little distracting, stuff like that. So let's have some fun with these here. And again, all it is just you going out and about, and you just shoot. No plan, no mission. Just grab your camera, go out, something gets your attention, shoot. you know. And then even this one here, I love the color temperature on this one. I don't even know how that happened. Looks like I just fired 4 successive shots, but yet the color temperature is different. Maybe it had something to do with the angle change or something. I don't know, but I'm just gonna roll with it. So in the chat, which one do you guys think I should start with? Do you think I should start with the cool temperature or the warm temperature? Just let me know. There's definitely a delay from the live stream. I'm sorry. So should I start with the cool temperature or the warm temperature? Anyone? Bueller? The cool temperature. Okay, says Scott. That's what we'll do. We'll start with that one first. All right, so as with any image that I work on, I always go ahead and get the camera profile accepted inside of Lightroom, and I remove chromatic aberration, and then I go with the dehaze. That's before I touch exposure, contrast, saturation, everything. Dehaze is the first step. And looks like I didn't have a lot of haze in this particular shot, because as I move this slider, you see nothing's really happening. Now if I move it back to the left all the way, of course it gets hazy, which creates a whole separate mood. I sort of like that. We're going to come back to that. I may use that image for something else another time, but let's just go ahead and dehaze it just a touch right there. Thank you, Angel. All right, so now we'll just go ahead and start from the top down. The temperature of this one is already cool, so I don't see the need to adjust the white balance up here. So I'm just going to leave the white balance alone. I'm going to worry more about the exposure and the highlights and the black levels. Okay, so I'm going to push the exposure just a little bit. Push it up just a little bit. Okay, give it a little more contrast. Okay, and then the highlights. The highlights are not very bright. If you look at the histogram up here in the upper right, this is where the highlights are, and you notice that peak is pretty low. But when I'm looking at the image itself, it looks a little blown out on the bulbs back here, which is okay. I can just pull the highlights down right here. Just pull it down, and you'll see that bulb starts to look a lot more defined. So if I push it back up, the bulb gets all blown out. I want the details of it like that. I like that. Okay, now the shadow, that is the fill light of this scene, as if I had a flash on or something. And you see if I push the shadows up, it just brightens it up just a little bit. Not much, but I don't think that's necessary, so I'm just going to reset the shadows back down. I like that dark area here on this shade. And then the black levels. I always strive to have real deep dark black levels, because I think that gives your images that have color a lot more contrast, and it make those colors just stand out more and pop. As you can see here, as I'm adjusting the black levels. All right, so let's start with it at the default, okay? And then just look right here. And now I'm going to change the black levels to a lower setting, and look right there. You know, it gave it a whole new dynamic here. I think I went a little too far, but you get the drift. So I'm going to push it back just a touch. Right about there. Okay. I like it. I like it. I like it. And the more I'm looking at this image now, I think I want to spend some time with the texture of this lamp here. You can see a little bit of dust and stuff on there. And yeah, I could probably edit out that dust, but I don't know. Sometimes textures really make an image, you know. So I'm going to leave that dust there and hope that, you know, by adjusting the clarity and adjusting the sharpness, I give the people viewing this a little more of a feel, if you will, for this particular light fixture. So let's go ahead and play around with the clarity right here. And I'm going to crank it up. And there's nothing wrong with cranking the clarity up super duper high just to see what you're working with. And sometimes cranking it up super duper high works. But that's super high and that's super low. I definitely don't like it super low. So I'm going to start back with the default. And then we're going to crank it up super high. Yeah, I like this. Now you notice also when you increase the clarity, watch what happens to the actual filaments here in the light bulbs. So let's take it back. All right. And now we increase that clarity. We're able to get even more detail from these little filaments right there. See that? Let me show you again. So I'm going to take the clarity and I'm going to take it back all the way back to 0 and just keep your eyes right here and see what happens as I increase the clarity. Ain't that cool? We'll keep it right about 80 or so. I think that works. What do you think? All right, and then the vibrance and saturation isn't going to matter too much in this image because it's damn near monochromatic. I mean, there's only like 3 different colors in here. So I can punch it up just a little bit, but you notice you're not going to see much of a difference. If I boost the saturation, I mean, it's just going to make it a little more blue and a little more yellow. Yeah, that works. Yeah, that actually works, boosting that blue up a little more. And the cool thing about this is the whole color theory behind it. You know, you're looking at this image and it's got that gold and it's got that blue. If you look on the color wheel, the blue and the gold or yellow, they complement each other. Blue and gold or blue and orange or teal and orange, those all really work together and it's just pleasing to the eye. And I just got lucky because these colors are already there and I didn't have to really embellish it, you know. So let's go back to it here. I'm going to play around with the luminance because that deals with the artifacts and the noise. And take the blue down. Right here, I'm just taking that down just to see what it looks like. Man, guys, I don't know. I typically don't go that extreme with my luminance, but I sort of dig it. Just playing with the blue and aqua channels. Excuse me. Well, okay, so now I'm seeing something. All right, so if you look back here on this bulb, the blue reflection on it, it turns into a slight distraction. So watch if I pull the blue level down. See that? See, it looks a little distorted, a little pixelated right here on that blue. And down here, the blue looks like paint on the bulb. I'm not a fan of that. Excuse me. But there may be a way around that. So let's see. So let's play with the aqua level. There's not a lot of aqua in this, but sometimes the aqua levels hide in all of the blue. So we're fine on that. All right, so what I'll do is just compromise with the blue. I'm going to bring it down. I'm just going to bring it down. But then I'm going to go to the saturation tab and decrease that just a touch to see if it makes that look a little bit better. And it did not. So let's put it back. Because what happened is when I pulled the blue saturation down, it affected the whole image. And that's defeating the purpose. So I'm going to put that back, and we're going to come back and just sort of manually fix this blue reflection momentarily. But we're going to move on down. We're going to take a look at our sharpening. If you've watched my live streams before, you know that most of my sharpening is done inside of Photoshop. I just do a little prelim sharpening here and noise reduction here inside of Lightroom. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time sharpening this image inside of Lightroom. I'll do that in Photoshop here momentarily. But right now we're just checking for noise. And this shot doesn't have a lot of noise because I shot it in the daytime. There was great light. My shutter speed is 1/800th of a second, so it's really fast. The aperture's got a lot of light coming through. The ISO is super low, so shouldn't be much of an issue regarding noise. But you should always zoom in just to be sure. And as I look around on this image, it's not a lot of noise. It looks pretty clean. And this was with the phone. Holy crap. That's awesome. Okay. I could do a vignette right now, but a vignette is like one of the last steps that I do. I know I have a whole lot more to handle in this shot, so I'm not going to worry about the vignetting just yet. But I will play around with the color profile here. Remember how we talked about orange and blue working in tandem? So I'm going to increase the orange hue, and I'm going to push this teal hue. Okay. Let's see how that looks a little more cinematic. Excuse me. I need a drink. Clear my throat. Man, excuse me. Maybe the bourbon will help. Okay, so back to our image. Remember we talked about the blue and orange working together? So now I push that orange hue up a little bit. And you're not going to really see it change much in the image. Not yet. But the second I change the blue down here on the bottom and just sort of increase it more towards this teal side, watch what happens to the image. It's going to give it a little more of a cinematic look. So, you see that? See how the bulbs got a little more orange? Even the shades have more of an orange shadow on them. So that's what it looked like before. And this is what it looks like with that adjustment. I like that a lot. What do you guys think? dig it. I dig it. I dig it. I dig it. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and push this over into Photoshop and work on the sharpening, as well as, you know, work on some of the distractions that are in this image. The first thing that comes to my mind is this bulb up here. That's not needed. I mean, I could probably just crop it out. Let's see if we can crop it out. Okay, that's cropped out. Thank you, Angel. I don't know if I like it cropped out this way because it changes the perspective. I like seeing this rod right here, or cable, or whatever it is that's holding this light up here. I like seeing that right there more than I like having this over here removed and it not being there. Does that make sense? I think having that there gives it, you know, a little more realism. So I'm going to leave it like this, and I'll just try to get rid of this inside of Photoshop. That's the only thing I can think of. Whoops, didn't even hit that button. Sweet. Awesome. Thanks, Scott. So let's go ahead and hop into Photoshop. Just right click, and then we'll go edit in Photoshop. Whoops. That's a thumbnail. Y'all didn't need to see that. There. All right. So we are in Photoshop. I'm going to make my screen full here. The layer is locked, so we're going to fix that and make this a non-destructive process by duplicating our layer. This was taken with a smartphone, and anytime I'm working with a smartphone image, I always like to expand it, make it larger so I can get some more pixels to work with. And Photoshop does a good job with this, with its image enlarging process. So I'm going to click up here on the menu and go to image, and I'll go to image size like that. And I will push this up to maybe 150%. And then right here, see, I changed it to 150% as far as the size goes. But right here is the key. Inside of Photoshop, it normally has it set to automatic. But depending on what I'm doing, I either like to use this option here. And I only use this option if I'm stacking a bunch of exposures. But if I'm not stacking a bunch of exposures and I'm just using one shot, this new version here is Preserve Details 2.0. Man, it really does a good job with keeping all of your information there and not making a lot of noise show up in the shot. I mean, it looks really good. So I'm going to hit OK. And it's going to blow it up to 1.5 size bigger, larger, whatever the perfect word is. All right. So you see I'm zoomed in. It's a larger image, larger file size. But notice the detail on it. There's no noise, no pixelation or anything like that. Man, Photoshop just crushes it. Does a really good job. So keep that in mind next time you want to try to enlarge an image, is to try that image size. Try this right here, Preserve Details 2.0. And you can get this if you have the latest version of Photoshop via the Creative Cloud, but I think you actually have to enable it under the preferences. So you go to edit up at the top, go to preferences, and is it performance? Crap, I can't remember. Oh gosh darn, I cannot remember. Dang, I don't remember where it is. but it's somewhere in the preferences where you have to enable it. No, maybe it's not there. I'm going to find that. Oh, I cannot remember. Dang, that's too bad. Well, you can Google it if you have to. Just Google it and say, hey, preserve details 2.0 Photoshop. Somebody has it out there on how to do it. All right. Sorry. So let's get back to this thing. We're going to sharpen this image here. And I always like to use the high pass filter. The unsharp mask option is pretty common to use, but I never really have good luck with it. I'll try it right now just for the heck of it. So I'm going to right click on my layer, convert it to a smart object so I can go back and forth and make all the adjustments I need to make. All right. And then I'm going to go up here to my filter menu, and then I will select sharpen, and then I'm going to select unsharp mask. And I need to zoom out a little bit because that's just a black screen. Okay. So I'll zoom in a little more and I'll just push it. And with it having that live preview option right there, it allows me to see what's going on as I make my adjustments over here. So I'm pushing that up, just cranking it up really high. And quite honestly, I'm not seeing much of a difference. So let's push it back to say 95, and we'll change the radius. Change that up to maybe 2.3, and now we'll change the mask amount. See what happens. And I'm just not seeing it. So I'm going to cancel on the unsharp mask, and I'm going to use the frequency separation with Gaussian blur and high pass filter. So that means I'm going to need two layers. So I'm going to copy this layer here by just dragging it down. And so I'll have my, we'll say my blur layer, and then this will be my sharp layer. Like that. Okay. And then as usual, I will right click and, well, not right click, I'll group them together by doing Control G on my keyboard, which now turned this into a group of layers. And that's just for me to be able to have a easy way to do a before and after when I'm looking at my sharpening process. So now both of these layers are smart objects, and you can tell because of the little icon that's on the thumbnail. And I'm going to change my blur layer to the Gaussian blur. So I'll say filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And again, move this around to where I could see. The trick that I found with this is to blur it to where it's just out of focus. Not totally out of focus like that, but where it's just barely out of focus. So we'll do that. And of course, since this is on the middle layer and this layer is above it, I can't see over here that it blurred anything, but I trust it. So next we'll go to the sharp layer, and then we'll go to the filter menu, and we will select other. I'm going to do a high pass filter. And some people freak out when they see the high pass filter do this gray over the image. It's okay. You just have to change your blend mode. I always like to start with the radius pushed all the way down, and then I just ease it up to where my details are just barely visible, and I just start, from there. So I click OK. Then I come over here to my blend mode for my high pass layer, change that to linear light. Now my image is back. And if you look at it, this thing is looking sharper already. So if I was to do a before and after, like this is the before version right there. And this is the after. And it's slightly sharper. Not much sharper, but slightly. So I'm going to click on that high pass filter again to open this up. And I'm going to increase the sharpness just to see. Yeah, now we're talking. Now we're talking. See how much better that looks? Just look at the bulb. Now, again, be careful. Don't push it too far because it will look like crap. Too much sharpness is really, really, really bad. Just find the middle ground. And if you don't want to use your mouse to drag, you can just use your up and down arrow. I'm going to say 9.6. And then I'll click OK. And now I will do a compare and contrast. So this is a before view. Looking that over. It's a nice image, but it's not sharp. And now this is the after with the sharp. And that's night and day. Way better. I love it. So we're good on that as far as sharpening the image. So I can just right click on this group. And I'm going to merge the group in case I need to do some other, touch-ups and things. Excuse me. Okay, so now the next business at hand is this distraction up here known as a light bulb. We need to get rid of that. We can use the built-in options in Photoshop. Probably the easiest is the content aware fill. So what I'll do is select L on my keyboard or just hit lasso up here. And I'm just going to draw around this thing like that. Okay. So I just drew around it. And if you hit the Shift key and the F5 key on your keyboard, it'll open up the content aware fill option. And you just say OK. And Photoshop will think about it and boom, it's gone. It's freaking magical. Gosh, I love that. Okay, so now the light is gone, but we have this gap here. We have this shadow. I think what I'd like to do is zoom in a little more. And I don't have too much of a problem with the shadow, but I want this core to be just a little more visible. So I'll grab my patch tool over here on the left, or just hit J and then select patch tool. And I'm going to draw a little selection right here in this area. And then I'll drag down. Whoops, hold on. Let's try that again. Isn't it so much easier when you can get some computational photo editing, let Photoshop do some of the work for you instead of me trying to use this patch tool like that. There. Yeah, see, that looks a little bit better. It's a little crooked, so let me try that again. Maybe if I zoom in, I get a little better control. So let's zoom in, lean it over a little bit. Something like that. There. Okay, so I mean that's something that's not very obvious, It was more so obvious to me. I still think I need to put a little bit more right there. So I'm gonna zoom in again. So let's select this area here. And whoops. Why do I keep doing that? I act like I haven't used the patch tool before. Gosh, I need my Wacom tablet. It's really hard for me to draw with the mouse. Don't y'all judge me. That's looking better. And I'll do this little spot too. Just enough. Just enough. So I zoom out. Okay, that looks better. What do you guys think about the rest of this stuff? Like this little, looks like a motion sensor back there. I say get rid of it. I'm definitely wanting to get rid of the fire extinguisher down here on the bottom. But what do you think about the motion sensor? Should I leave it or should I get rid of it? Or at least attempt to get rid of it? I'm going to get rid of that. We can go to edit, fill, content aware. And it's gone. And that's not a perfect content aware fill, but it's really, really easy to fix that with the patch tool. So, well, wait a minute. It's always an attempt, Angel. You never really know nowadays. You just sort of hope Photoshop gets it right for you. And you see now, even though it didn't really do well with getting rid of that fire extinguisher, it's still fixable because of that patch tool. Something like that. There we go. I think that looks a lot better. Okay, so Scott says, let's see. Scott says, I'd get rid of the motion sensor, but you kind of like the fire extinguisher. Oh, gosh darn it. All right, so since you say that, tell me what you like about that fire extinguisher being there. I'm going to go ahead and knock out the motion sensor right now, but I want to hear why you say keep the fire extinguisher. Let's get rid of this motion sensor. Like that. All right. Now that did a quick job of getting rid of it, but the seam is wrong. See how it's a little crooked right there? That's not good. But we always have our patch tool over here. Just click that patch tool. And we're going to straighten that puppy out. Just grab it like that. And we're going to straighten it out. Almost perfect. Boom. Easy as that. Man, that looks great. I think that looks great. Okay, so Scott says regarding the fire extinguisher, I think it makes it look more like a natural scene. The motion sensor is so close to the subject and a distraction to me, so I would get rid of it. I like how you think, brother. So we're going to put that fire extinguisher back. That's I like how you think. Well, since I got rid of it, I got to figure out how to put it back. The easiest way is to just click over here on your layer and then select the layer mask. Okay, is the layer mask going to work? What the heck? There it goes. That was weird. And now that you have your layer mask, you need to get your brush tool or press B on your keyboard, which I just press B. And then you want to make sure your brush is black in color right there. Okay. And since I'm putting something back, essentially I'm brushing in the fire extinguisher that is down here on this bottom layer. If a fire breaks out, we're going to need some extra help. Fair enough, my friend. Fair enough. So let's go ahead and brush in. See, this is what it looked like before, because this is the original layer here. And you see we got the bulb there and the motion sensor and the fire extinguisher. So in order for me to get that fire extinguisher back, I need to click on this layer mask right here and brush in this area. And I am not going to use my mouse for this. I am going to use my Wacom tablet. I highly suggest, if you're a photographer, go out, get yourself a Wacom pen tablet. They're, not all that big, and they're USB. You don't need any batteries, and it comes with a stylus, and these things give you so much more control and precision when it comes to doing some of your touch-ups, especially when you're doing portraits. Oh my gosh, there's no way I'd use a mouse unless I really, really had to. So anyway, back to the screen here. So I'm going to brush in right in this area, and I'm going to make sure I have a soft brush. So I'm going to press Alt. Whoops. Whoa, why is that not working? What's wrong with you? Huh, that's weird. It's just changing color, probably because I'm on a layer mask. I need that to be black. I'm just going to go up here to the top of the screen, and I'm going to change the flow. That works. Right about there. And now I'm going to brush it in like that. How's that? Fire extinguisher is back. Perfect. And again, if I wanted to get rid of it, I could just press X on my keyboard, which is going to change my paint color to white, as you can see right there. And then I would just paint over it, just like that, because it's using a layer mask over here. But we want it back because Mr. Wilhelm said so. All right. I think we're good with this image here. I like the sharpness on it. I like the color on it. So now we'll go ahead and hit save. Thank you, brother. Thank you. So we'll go ahead and hit save. And this is going to take it an extra minute or two because we made it a bigger file. And then we're going to hit close. And this is going to take us back to Lightroom with our nice new fresh image. Now look at that. That thing is 4,000 pixels by 6,000 pixels. That is huge mungus, folks. Huge mungus. But that's good because it just gives us a lot more data to work with. Okay, so now remember previously I was talking about the blue reflection on the bulb. I wanted to try to just tone that down a little bit. I can do that very easily here inside of Lightroom. Probably could have done it in Photoshop too, but I like Lightroom better than Photoshop most days. So I'm going to use my adjustment brush and just tone down that blue reflection on those bulbs so it's not as distracting. I like the gold and orange glow coming from the bulb. So let's go ahead and hop on over there. So we'll go back to this. Okay, to get to your adjustment brush, it's up in the upper right corner of your screen here inside of Lightroom. What is wrong with my screen? Go back. What is your problem? I didn't tell you to do that. Okay, now we're good. There. So now, this is your adjustment brush, or as the shortcuts say, you can just press K on your keyboard, and that opens up a whole different panel to work with. I'm thinking my approach on handling this blue stuff, the blue reflection on the bulbs, is I'll just desaturate it a little bit. So I will go in and I'm going to do it one at a time. So I'm going to zoom in and I'll start on this bulb here in the back. And I'm going to drop my little pin right there. And I'll change this setting over here to saturation. You know, or heck, even teeth whitening would work, because teeth whitening, all that does is decreases the saturation and increases the exposure. So let's try teeth whitening. And I'll also change the flow of the brush. I'm going to decrease that because I want it to be a softer brush. So we'll take that down to about 72. So now let's just brush over this blue real lightly. And that's another thing. If you're using a Wacom tablet, it's pressure sensitive. And I'm already seeing now the desaturation is not really working out so well. Probably need to decrease the exposure on it like that. Yeah, I don't think desaturation is going to work. Nope, that's not going to work. So I'm going to delete that pin and we're going to try this another way. Let's see. Maybe I can add a color brush. So I'll just click over here where it says color. And then I'll just try to paint that in to match up with the bulb as best I can. This little eyedropper tool, it doesn't work over here. I don't know why. It would be a lot easier if I could just match it up. That's pretty close right there. So I'll close that. And I'm going to decrease this clarity. That's not necessary. So I'm going to drop my pen. And now let's try to brush it in. Yeah, that's not working either. Ooh, you are being a pain of a challenge. There it goes. That is working. Decrease the saturation. Brush it in. Make that a little darker. Okay, it's still a little bright. There. And then also I have to consider, I'm zoomed in quite a bit, so it's going to look a lot worse zoomed in. Okay, so let's zoom out and see how it looks. Yeah, that's looking a little bit better. Still not great. That's a little bit better. That the color. Okay, so we're going to stop with that, and then we can just do a healing brush. Okay, so I turned off the brush, the adjustment brush there, and now I'll click over here and we'll do a healing brush. And basically that's just going to let me try to match it up more so with this orange color. Ooh, too much. So I'm going to decrease. I'm going to decrease this brush size. Just shrink it down some. And just do a little bit at a time. Ooh, that's not good. Huh. So let's change that to clone. That's better. A lot of times the healing brush works inside of Lightroom for me, but every now and then you have to do the clone option instead of the heal option. So we're doing the clone, and what I did was I held down my Alt key and then I just selected that color like that, and it's telling Lightroom I'm trying to blend in more so with that color that I selected. And again, when you're zoomed in this close, it's going to look like an 8-bit mess. It's going to look like crap when you're just this close to it. But don't worry about it. It's going to be okay. All right. So we have the blue hue there, but it's not as vibrant. Okay. And of course, I don't want to use the same color on this side. So I'm going to hold Alt again, and I'll select this little area like that. And I'll paint up into that. You gotta be careful. Dig it. I dig it. I dig it. I dig it. Okay, so let's zoom out. That looks better. There's still a blue hue there, but that looks much better. Last thing I'll do with that is I'll do one more brush on it, and I'll decrease the clarity on those spots so it's a little fuzzier. So I'll do a little pin there. Zoom in. Make that a little less sharp, a little fuzzy. Make it really soft. See what I'm doing there? What I did is I'm painting in over here on the little spots that we just adjusted, and I took the clarity down over here. I just pushed that clarity back, and then I pushed the sharpness down. So that's going to make it fuzzy. So when I back out, here we go. That looks better. So you look at that shadow in reflection in comparison to this one down here. You know, this one is not as, this one is way more defined, and it's probably going to take a lot more work. So now we can move on and work on this one. So I'm going to do a new brush. Okay. And I'm going to go to clarity again, and I'm going to pull the clarity down, and I'm going to pull the sharpness down right there. Clarity and sharpness. And I'm going to drop a pin, zoom in. Come on. There we go. Just zooming in where I can see. And I'm going to decrease the clarity and sharpness on this spot. You folks have any questions? I thank y'all for watching. Just decreasing that clarity, decreasing that sharpness, making it a little fuzzy. Just fuzzy in all the right spots. Okay. So that's done, and we'll do a new brush again. And Wait a minute, what did we do the last time? We took the saturation down a little bit. Is that what we did? Yeah, we took the saturation down. So we did the teeth whitening. And we're gonna leave that exposure as normal. So we're taking the saturation out of this blue. Oh, yeah, babe. There we go. That is working. Okay, so now I may not even need to do the whole healing process and cloning process, because this is looking like it's working. The blue isn't as strong. You know what I'm saying? See that? I want to keep a little bit of the blue in there. But let's zoom out. Yeah, that just might do it. Let's zoom in. Push the blue up just a touch. Yeah, I think that'll work okay. I think I will still go ahead and do some of that cloning. So we will hit off on our adjustment brush and we'll go back to this cloning option right there. And I will select this area here and I'm going to brush it in. Select this area here and brush it in. And the key with the healing and cloning brush, when you're inside a Lightroom, it can really bog your system down. So if you don't have a really strong computer, don't use broad strokes. Just use little short strokes like that. Gotta be careful. That's better. That's better. Okay, and I'm going to hop out of that and I'm going to decrease the sharpness one more time. Clarity and sharpness. With this adjustment brush. Is it an issue that the light bleeds over the rim of the metal? I can't say it's an issue. I think this is just more of a preference for me, because I really, really like the glow that comes off of the light, and I would much rather see that glow than I would like to see that blue hue, because what's happening is over here on the right side of the frame, there's a window. And that window is letting in soft sunlight. And if you look closer, you can see an actual tree, because there's a little tree just across the street from that window. And I thought that, you know, it being as blue as it was, I thought it was a little distracting. So I felt like I should tone that blue reflection down. Move over. And I hope that makes sense to you. Good question. But I think we just about got it now, folks. Uh-oh. Lightroom is freezing. Here we go. Okay, I think that's it. So let's zoom out for one last look. Yeah. I dig it. I dig it. I dig it. I dig it. So now we can take a look at the vignetting. I mean, I could do this. I don't think that's going to change much, and it didn't. But we'll look at the vignetting. Like so. And if you want, just go crazy with the vignette. Hey, Hybrid Media in the house. What's up, man? Thanks for popping in. Now you look at this vignette. I pushed the vignette all the way down. And if the feathering was a little bit better, it might be okay. So vignette is definitely a preference. Because when I did the vignette too much, we lost our trusty fire extinguisher. You know what I'm saying? So we have to be careful. Well, there is one other trick. Instead of using the actual vignette tool, you can just do the burn tool by going back to your adjustment brush and select burn to darken and just paint it in. Just use a really, really soft brush. We'll change the flow like that. Turn off this auto mask, but make sure our flow is maybe about half. And then we'll just brush it in. Okay, so maybe I need to do a little more than half on the flow. Does that make sense? Oh, jeez. There we go. Just darkened it a little bit. Something like that. You can see where I paint it when I press the O key. So I want to brush in right there and brush in a little bit right here. And a touch along the edge like that. Something like that. Now I went too far over here, so I'm going to erase just a little bit of it. A little too far right there too. Just erase that away. Okay, so now we'll take away that red mask. And you'll see there's a vignette there now. So watch as I adjust the exposure. What happens? See? But we don't want it that dark, so we'll just find a good middle ground. I think that works best right there. Somewhere along those lines. I'm erasing right here again. So I erased too much. Now I need to put some of it back. There we go. So that looks a little more natural now. There. How do I avoid going down a rabbit hole tweaking? Well, there is really no way, in all honesty. First of all, you can do, like I said, when I started the stream, I wanted to try to keep it at about an hour. And when I look at it, we've been an hour and 10 minutes. And fortunately, I'm done with this thing. So yeah, you have to set some limits every now and then, or you will just continue to tweak and tweak and tweak on these things. And if you find yourself doing that, just step away, walk away. Give yourself half an hour, give yourself a day, whatever. But I guarantee when you walk away and then come back after an extended amount of time, you will see it with a whole different line of clarity. And you may even go back and remove some of the tweaks that you did, or you may find that it just needs one more adjustment and be done, you know. But that is the image, folks. I think that looks pretty daggum good coming off of that pixel, you know. That looks pretty stellar. I like it a lot. Sweet. Do you folks have any questions that you'd like to ask? Any other questions that you'd like to ask before I shut this down? All right, I think it's done. That's our shot. Thank you, Mr. Wilhelm. Thank you very much. And to my man, Mr. Hybrid Media, since you came in late, I'll give you a brief rundown of what happened here. The whole gist behind tonight's live stream was just the idea of just going out and shooting. There's a lot of times I go out to shoot and I have a mission. You know, I go out and I'm thinking today is a landscape day. I'm going to focus on landscapes, or I'm going to focus on street photography, whatever. I have a particular mission, but every now and then I just tell myself, go shoot. I don't care what it is. Just go shoot. And I did that tonight before this live stream. These are not the images from it, but I just went out and shot. I had no plan, nothing. I just went and drove, and then I just stopped somewhere, got out, grabbed my backpack, and just went at it. Okay. And the shot that I worked on tonight came from last weekend. The missus and I went out and had brunch or something. And I said, I'm going to take my camera. And we went in there and we had brunch. And as we're walking out of the pub, I see these lights. And I didn't have my camera in my hands at the time, but I had my Pixel 2 in my hand. And I stopped and I snapped off about 4 different exposures of this. And it just works. And the thing is, I could take that image and get a really, really nice print from it, and or even submit it up for stock photography. It's because it's so generic, but it grabs attention. You know, it's I dig it. I like the symmetry and I like the depth of field. And it's all because I was just, snap and shoot and went on about my business, you know. So no plan, you know, that's all it is to it. No plan, no plan, no plan. So I'm gonna go ahead and export this and have it ready for Instagram. So we'll say export with a preset. I have an Instagram preset. And so this will be on Instagram tomorrow or Sunday or sometime soon. But yeah, that's it. So thank you all. Thank you all very much for popping in, and it looks like I went over about 10 minutes. Sorry about that, but I really appreciate everybody watching. Again, I felt like I owe you all by doing a live stream, regardless of me being a little bit tired and hungry. I owe you all, especially considering people are now going to be contributing to my Patreon, and it's the least that I can do. And I want to be able to share my experience and my knowledge, more so my experiences as far as the trials and tribulations, and just pass it on to everybody else that's out there in the photography world to let you know this stuff is doable. Takes a little bit of patience, but it also takes a lot of screwing up and learning from your mistakes. If you enjoyed this stream, please hit the share button and pass this stream along to other folks. I will put some links in the description of this video that lets you see some of the other things that I've been working with or that I use. Again, thank you all for the support on Patreon. Thank you all for trying out audible.com. Audible, thank you for your support. If you want 2 free audiobooks, you can go to antpruitt.com/audible and get 2 free audiobooks if you sign up for the 30-day free trial. If you don't like the 30-day free trial, you can just cancel it and still keep your 2 free books, but it also helps support me. So thank you again, Audible, and thank you for being an awesome viewer and checking out my content. So with that said, it's Friday night. It's 10:47 p.m. I'm going to get out of here and call it a night. Y'all have yourself a good Friday. Have yourself a good weekend. And just keep getting out there and creating and dominating. Thanks again. See ya.